All right, y'all. So we're about to get into the tea because it is hot. But before we do that, we got to talk about this group trip to Vietnam, March 14th through the 20th of 2026. I want you to be there. If you have seen our trips to Bali, to Thailand, to Zanzibar, and our upcoming one to Cape Town, you don't want to miss this one to Vietnam. People ask me, why did I choose Vietnam? I mean, look at it. We got good pricing in terms of the currency conversion, so the dollar takes you further. We got beautiful landscapes and we got great Vietnamese food and shopping. Plus, 3 cities. So we're going to be running around this country looking all types of crazy and all types of lit. And we got a 2 day luxury cruise, y'all. A 2 day luxury cruise. So I need you to go ahead and make your reservation today. Go ahead and make your deposit today. You can put it on a payment plan. Click the link in the description. Now we can really get into this tea. Y'all, we're back with another episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville, y'all. Love and Marriage Huntsville is back. So clearly, the strategy is obviously, I think it's always been pretty obvious with the Love and Marriage and Bell Collective franchises is that, Love and Marriage Huntsville will take a break and then Bell Collective will come on, which is great for me because it's like a lot of shows on a Friday and Saturday nights. And y'all know Friday and Saturday nights, y'all, like, I be trying to like relax and chill. You know what I'm saying? I might have to, drive home to see the moms. You just never know. But thankfully, listen, I do love this show. So it's back, and we are here to talk about the new season. All right, so this is really a continuation of the season that just kind of went off. So we're on episode 9 of the season now. Depending on where you look, if you look on like YouTube TV, I think you might see season 10. For me, I end up seeing season 6, so I'm gonna kind of go with season 6. So we'll just run through it from there. All right, the episode is called "Can We Fix It?" Can we talk for a minute? Girl, I want to know your name. Y'all lucky I cannot sing for real, because y'all, I will be busting it down. Wait, when people say bust it down, what they mean? I digress, but it's can we fix it as in can, not can. Can, as in Ken and Latricia. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna read you the episode description. It says when Ken and Trisha have it out, Trisha agrees she needs therapy and meets with Dr. Francis. Destiny goes on a date with Nell's godson, Tuan, and Nell and Chris learn Martell and Marceau have settled their beef and set up a get together for the gang, a jamboree. Y'all know we love a jamboree, okay? So this episode is really heavily focused on Latricia and Ken. And I would before, I'm not gonna lie, I would have probably said, I don't know that that's a good idea. Okay. But I found myself actually probably for the very first time a lot more intrigued by Latricia's journey. And I think it may have been the level of vulnerability that was expressed in the episode. And I felt like I could see a little bit of myself in Latricia. And I'll talk about that as we kind of go along. For reference, it should be remembered that Latricia over this past decade lost her mom, her dad, her sister died in her arms, and in the heat of the grief, her husband ended up abandoning her from her perspective, right? Because listen, in every story there's a hero and a villain, and I'm sure for Marquez, he's somehow found a way that she is the villain. And she, listen, there's no, we don't know. We weren't there. But from the sounds of it, it sounds like he just kind of left her. Okay. So as we know, Ken came in, swept her off of her feet, and can't explain why the love it makes him weak. Okay. So the first part of this episode is Latricia and her son. Xavier, and this scene right here was so good. I mean, I don't know how old he is. He's obviously maybe still in his early, I mean, like, or not, or like late teens. That's the impression that I get, but like maybe high school ish, but old enough to know what's going on. And they are working out, him and Latricia. And it almost kind of made me feel like maybe Latricia needs to be by herself, but I'm going to hold judgment on that because I kind of want to see how things progress. And the reason I say that is because he is genuinely affected by, I mean, number one, he seems like a very good kid. Number two, he is so easily able to articulate his feelings in a way that is slow, methodical, well thought out, and just I was extremely impressed with his ability to communicate what he was seeing with his mom and what she should potentially be doing. He doesn't try to wage war on her in any way, shape, or form, but he does gently express to her boundaries. I don't want you to talk bad about my dad. I don't want my dad to talk bad about you. I don't want to see you and Ken arguing. I don't want to see any of this. I don't want to see people fighting. I don't want to hear people yelling. It's not good for me. So just work if I remember, we're gonna have another discussion about this, but just hold on to that. Okay. There's something that popped in my mind. Maybe I'll be able to tell you about it at a later time. But Um, follow me here. So at this point, she realizes something has to change. So then she will later have a conversation with Ken. And that conversation is a bit combative. They do go back and forth. There's some interesting things that come out about this. Now, I feel like we got a better understanding of what Ken has been feeling all this time. Because I don't think even now, up until now, I was completely sure what their issues were separate from Marquez. But it sounds like Latricia carries around some residual levels of resentment. And it sounds like she may be a bit more moody than what Ken may be used to or would prefer. And in her moods, she kind of goes silent, for which he interprets as anger. And it's probably difficult for her to really delineate between the level of anger she admits that she's feeling in her therapy session with Dr. Francis and what she would like to put off as just quiet. And so I would wager to think that these quiet times are indeed bouts of anger that she is silently executing under the guise of, I'm just going to say I'm being quiet, but I'm really seething about something. And Ken feels like left to figure it all out while he's in the house, and everybody might be in some sort of state of anger or anxiety. And to that, I also have to say, Ken, you walk into a situation while I am sure that she looked good, she talked good, she cooked good, she do all the things. But at the end of the day, this woman was clearly still in the midst of a divorce, a separation. You knew all of this. So then, kind of giving her these deadlines and telling her that she's got 6 months to change. Ninja, please. You knew. You knew back then what you was walking into. You knew she won't over the situation because the situation won't over. So now to put these stipulations on how much longer you could take it, I mean, yeah, that's your right and that's your prerogative. But at the end of the day, brother, this is what you signed up for. So to now expect something completely different is kind of crazy to me. I mean, like, you want her to be an adult, but you got to be an adult too. And as an adult, you walked clean into this situation, knowing that woman was still in the throes of separation, and you knew then it should have became obvious within the past several years that that situation was not going to end as quickly as you thought. And so I get it. You can be at your wits end. Has every right to be. But I also have to say that you have to sit and think about the situation that you stepped foot into, wholeheartedly understanding and seeing clearly with your own two eyes the fact that they were not separated. And if they weren't separated, why? That should have let you know that there was some residual somethings that needed to be figured out. Whether it was the fact that she was still holding on to him, or whether it was that there was still residual anger, resentment, harboring of something such that neither one of them had completely let go. So they have it out. And Trish also said something interesting too. She mentioned something about his aggression, which that is something we don't know too much about. And I noticed that there was no follow up on that from him. There was no more discussion. It was like the scene just cut and they went on to talking about how she needed to do. Basically, his recipe for her is that she needs therapy and she needs it stat, and she's got 6 months to do it. Okay. Um, listen, at the end of the day, she clearly needs the therapy, right? I mean, I'm not a counselor, I'm not any of that, but the woman clearly needs it, right? But in Latricia's vulnerability in her therapy session, I will say that she actually became probably to me a lot more of a likable character on this show because I could literally see some elements of myself in her and her grief journey. Clearly, she's going through a lot, dealing with the loss of her dad, her mom, and her sister dying in her arms. Then her husband at the same time. There were elements of what she said and she talked about with feeling like she's going to just lose someone else that kind of I get now why she has such a guard up. And I think we knew that story, but told in the context of her grief story and her healing journey as she actively seeks to do so with someone asking the pertinent questions. It really, I think, unlocked something for me. Just also in terms of my own like grief journey. And as much as, for I think a lot of us, we would like to think, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. I'm realizing for myself, like, dude, you ain't been okay. You have not been okay, like, you've been masking it with this, that, and the third, and this, that, and the third, and I have literally tried every single thing I could think of to get to a place where I felt like I was on the other side, and ain't none of it really worked. And I don't think it is until you are able to really sit with, okay, we got to deal with this. And I don't think I really knew what that meant until today. And I think she got it in the episode as well. So if you are somebody who has dealt with grief of any sort and you've kind of wondered why you haven't been able to sort of get to this like just a right space, or if you have dealt with any level of trauma in friendships or relationships such that someone left or abandoned the situation, listen, here's the thing. Times may get tough in friendships, relationships, family relationships, dynamics, but I think there's something to be said when a person just ups and leaves, or they just disappear, or they just stop being friends with you, or they stop talking to you. You never know why. Then you are kind of left wondering, like, what happened? Or somebody, you know what I'm saying? Somebody just did something totally to try to like really like tear you down or hurt you or something like that. I think until you deal with that trauma, like you won't recognize the things that you're doing to protect yourself from that point forward. I can now pinpoint something in myself, something that happened to me a couple of years ago, and with like two friendships, and they have actually impacted how I navigate my own friendships currently. The episode was just, if you were looking for, if you're not a fan of Latricia, you're not a fan of Ken's, I would definitely say to watch this episode, and then also watch the episode in context to also some of the things that maybe you might be experiencing, specifically for those of you guys who are experiencing any level of grief, which I know a lot of you are, as I see your comments, in either the chat when I've kind of broached these topics before, and I've not been shy about talking about my own journey, not to be depressing, but to just let you guys. I mean, this is real. It's real. As much as we don't want to talk about it, as much as I feel like people don't want to hear about it, it is real life. And so, as a result, that is reflected in this episode. And for that, I would have to say my level of enjoyment actually surprised me with this episode. So, I have to say kudos to Latricia for taking the journey because that's huge. Um, Elsewhere in the episode, we see Nell and no, I want to get to Destiny first, and then I'll go to Nell, Chris, and Martell. So Destiny is my assumption would be she is dating, right? She is in the dating field. She's out to, you know, like get to know people. Now, when she meets up with Tuan, who is the godson of Mrs. Nell, which means that they're godbrothers, her and Nell, Lance. Lance and Tuan are godson brothers or whatever. Not blood brothers, but brothers. But Ms. Nell considers herself to be Tuan's mama. So Destiny meets up with Tuan because she is looking for bodyguard services. And I'm like, Destiny, where are you going that you are in danger, girl? Like, but listen, you know, women who have been in relationships where they may have, or just let me say this, the more I learn about people, okay, the more I can, especially with women, the more I see and the more I hear from some of my female friends, the more I actually sometimes fear for their safety when they're out and about alone. Okay, let me say that. So just things that I hear that I feel like as a man I don't typically think about, that some of my female friends have to think about. I just always get an education in. I I hate that y'all have to feel like that. I hate that y'all sometimes feel like you are in danger from, men who might be catcalling you or whistling at you or trying to get your attention and stop you, and you might be walking alone. So, I mean, to the naked ear you hear it and you're thinking, Destiny, girl, what you need security for? But then the more I be thinking about it, I'm like, sometimes I be wishing I could get security for some of my friends. So, um I do think that the conversation was more or less to gauge the level of interest and intrigue that and chemistry that the two of them may have. And I did feel like there was some chemistry there. I guess maybe Tuan offers bodyguard guard servicing or something to that degree. I don't know. But when you see the preview for the next episode, then you're kind of like, wait, what happened to Tuan? I mean, I hope I'm not getting ahead of myself. Anyway, meanwhile, Nell. Nell is, uh, you know, there's something that I enjoy about Miss Nell. I would probably say more so than even Chris, is that Miss Nell is a little bit of a busybody. But I think her busybodiness serves her as a reality TV personality because Miss Nell genuinely is busy. Okay. She wants to know who Tuan is banging. She wants to know who Lance is banging. She wants to be in the mix. She needs Lance to fix the things at her daycare. She needs for Chris to do things around the house. Why are the men not doing anything? She's doing everything. And yeah, I mean, she's like Big Mama. And I hate to call her that. I mean, not that she's not big. That's not what I'm saying. She's like Big Mama. Like the matriarch of the family that knows all, right? That knows all, sees all, is worried about all, got to take care of all. Like that's Big Mama. And that's an archetype that is probably based in some level of patriarchy that I probably should not be at least even equating her to. But when we think about the idea of who Big Mama serves as for a lot of us in the Black community, she represents that archetype, in my opinion. Okay. So, with that being said, I now apologize in advance for that analogy, but because I can't explain it quickly any other way, That is what I use. So with that being said, um, I like to be as politically correct as I possibly can, but sometimes you just got to explain things in layman's terms, and that's just oftentimes easier. So with that being said, she knows all, sees all, needs people to do it all because she's going to have to do it all if they don't. And 9 times out of 10, she's going to do it all anyway. So, in her knowing of all things, she needs to know what's going on with Lance and Tuan and Destiny. She is kind of all up in the mix, even though her and Destiny are doing better. But she relays to Chris that she still has some issues with Latisha now because Destiny has informed her that Latisha is the person who told Destiny that they had to leave the reunion to go see about Lance and his baby that was on the way that Destiny found out about on the internet. Destiny, remember, was upset because why, if she and Nell are like this, why wouldn't Nell have told her about the baby? Now, to Destiny, Miss Nell makes it seem like, well, that wasn't the reason. Or was it? Okay. I just want to know. Or was it? Why else would you have left the reunion?
Is it a coincidence? Is it a coincidence? I ask you.
I think we're going to get more on this to come. So stand by on that. Martell stops by, and guess what, y'all? There's lots to talk about Arion. So here's a discussion that we probably need to have about this show. And in order for Martell to continue to have a significant role on this show, it is probably going to either have to come down to one of two things. One, he's probably going to have to either perhaps leave the show in some way, shape, or form because we can't truly tell much of his story without having Arion because he references her in many of those conversations.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That's just how it's going to have to be. And I'm not trying to put the man out of a job, but I'm just saying half of his story is over here off camera. Okay. And so if you're going to keep on referencing her, they're talking about her. He's letting us know he's bringing her to Huntsville. He didn't put her in the house. He was paying her rent. Now it's time for him to solidify to bring down all the payments he's making for her rent, this house, and he's putting her in this house, and then he got to pay rent there, here rent, there rent, area rent. And then they make it seem as though now that him and Marceau are on good terms, somehow Arion and Latisha need to get on good terms. How is that going to happen if she's not on the show? So my question is going to be this. Are they intending to perhaps warm us up to this idea that Arion would be on the show since he is still on the show? And that is his partner. That is my question. Like, how do you continue with his story beyond this point and have her be a phantom cast member? Or do you bring her onto the show and watch the fireworks explode? That's a difficult one. I don't know the answer to that question. So I ask you, what do you want to see for that? Um, it's just this is a technical question that I think needs to be resolved in order for Martell's portion of the story to continue to be told. Do you, from a production standpoint, tell his story fully or not? A decision has to be made there. And I don't know what the decision is, but I'm just saying that at some point, y'all it's going to have to be something because you're going to keep referencing her and then not show her, or you're going to not reference her and let her just stay over there. What are you going to do? I'm curious. So now that everybody's getting along on the same page, Nell and Chris want to have an event. Okay. So they want to have an event. They want to get the people together because everybody's on good terms. But I don't think that's going to go as well as they think. Okay. Because next week, it looks like not only are Nell and Latisha going to get into it, but I think that Nell and Kimmy are going to go. I think they're going to get into it as well. Blink, blink, blink. So, yeah, we'll have to see how that turns out. But listen, guys, make sure you guys keep it locked to the channel and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Like this video if you like reality TV related content. Also, to be sure to tap into our group trip to Vietnam. I am actually 2 weeks away from heading to Cape Town. For a lot of y'all say I love. Oh my God, I got to get on one of these trips. I got to get on one of these trips. I do have two $200 off coupons. Richie 200. Definitely use them. I've actually had them reserved for someone who has not used them, and I don't know if they intend to. Actually, two people who wanted to use them. So in my mind, I'm like, listen, I will make every opportunity I can for you to go because I want you to go. But y'all, definitely, if you're interested, snatch them up. It's $200 off. Make your deposit. You can get yourself on a payment plan, and we do take a firm. With that being said, y'all, I will catch you in the next video.